It's a high-tech conversation.
And a low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.
Right, so welcome everybody to Bench Talk 101. As you will all know, last week was an interesting week where the speaker that was put forward actually couldn't do it the following week, but they wanted to do it the next week, and therefore we were asking for different people to come and speak. And Sarah from Bill and Sarah bullied me, and so here I am. I'm still at work, and I'm ready to try and give you a talk about what we're doing here. So thank you very much for joining us. So I'm going to start off with a quick slideshow. Derek, I think you need to mute yourself, just so that we can get that sorted. So slideshow's coming on here. So I wanted to start with a quick slideshow, just so that it prompts me with what I'm going to say, and we're trying to do this quick now. Obviously, I'd like to show you the whole college, but we're not going to be able to do that because it's it's quite a big place. But in short, what's really happened is that we kind of got fed up with normal education. And one of the things that I heard from businesses was that they were also fed up that the learners coming out of schools and colleges were not work ready, that they focused so much on the exams that the practical skills and the knowledge that they needed to go into technical and practical subjects were just simply not there. So Lord Baker and Lord Deering created something called the University Technical Colleges, and I'm fortunate enough to be allowed to create one of these colleges. So for the last 7 years, I've put all my effort into creating the London Design and Engineering UTC. So the screen that you see at the moment, this is actually the Royal Docks down in East London, and the RB that you see on the sort of the runway there is opposite City Airport. And in the top right, you can see Canary Wharf and lots of different places there. And basically, the RB that you see there now is actually our college that we've created. So in the short space of 7 years, we've created a brand new college in the focus that we wanted to be engaging young people to consider their careers. So I'll just click onto the next slide. So this is actually what the college looks like. So this was we've now been in here for just over 3 years, 2 years. And prior to that, we were in porter cabins getting ready for it. So it's been an absolute journey trying to create this place. I had to persuade companies to come and support me. I had to persuade the GLA and the local authority to sell us the land, prime real estate right in the east of London. That obviously comes with great expense and difficulties trying to get it through. But in short, what we are is a school or a college. We are a college, but on a school age basis that is preparing the young people for the world of work. And what we said to businesses were, let's put your money where your mouth is and support us and help our students to actually be the work-ready individuals that you want. So we created this college from scratch. So we had to persuade the employers to support us. We had to, like I said, persuade the landowners to sell the land. And then we had to persuade the Department for Education to part with their money to provide the resources. And what that's created now is a 750 full-time student college where we deliver 4 types of education. The first type of education is like any school up and down the country, where we do the same GCSEs, the same A-levels, the same curriculum using the same exam boards as any other school. So, students that come here can feel confident that they've got the same kind of qualifications that other students of their peers would have. The second type is that we do apprenticeships. and we're closely linked with a university right next door on the same campus. And with them, we do apprenticeships from level 2 all the way up to level 8. So that means that we can do, the craft apprenticeships down at the lower levels of level 2, 3. And then as we go up to 4, 5, and 6, we're doing the higher university level apprenticeships, where you're doing normal degree apprenticeships, going up to masters and then on to doctorates. So it's quite really high tech and advanced. The third type of education that we offer here is that we have got masses of kit, fantastic resources that the employers and different people have supported us with. And therefore what we find is when we show the local community, they are absolutely amazed. And what we normally hear is, gosh, I wish I had that one when I was at school. So what we do is we're going to be doing after school, evenings, weekends and holidays where the community can come in and use the resources. And a lot of that, when we talk about the woodworking classes later, you'll see some of that happens. And then the fourth type of education that we offer is industry education. And what I mean by that is that when you see the equipment that we've got, it's high end. And therefore we didn't just think that, oh, that looks rather nice. It's been spec'd by our employer sponsors. And therefore, when they have to do upskilling of their staff, they can come and use our facilities and upskill their staff at the same time. And that's quite inspirational because that means that our learners get the chance of meeting the companies and working with them. So you can hear that, we're a skills institution. We are providing skills to the young people to get them ready for work. You can hear that we're both academic and vocational. So you can do the same academic subjects, but we also have the vocational subjects on offer as well. But the whole thing here is about business. So therefore we have this business-like ethos. And what we've created is this business world. So, the uniform is not like a normal school uniform. Our students come as young as 13 years old here, and they're wearing business suits. They're wearing business workwear. Okay, it's not the normal school uniform. And when they talk to us, they don't call us Sir or Mr. Fowler. My name's Geoffrey. They call me Geoffrey. And we do that on purpose because what we've found with research is that, young people have very little chance of communication with adults. And therefore, the language and the difference is so vast that it becomes alien to when they come out of education into the workplace, and it takes them longer. Whereas our learners can start with that language straight away and be work ready. They can have those really good conversations with the employers, and they can talk about the experiences that they've had. So we are industry led. We've got sponsors that I can show you in a minute, and the sponsors are basically make up 80% of our governing body, and therefore everything we do here is focused around the world of work. So it's very different from a normal school, from the working hours right through to how we treat people, how we behave, and so on. And the whole primary goal here is that we're career focused. So everything we do is about the workplace. So we engage with projects and different things like that. So, this is another view where you can see the lovely Canary Wharf there on a nice sunset. So our sponsors, we're a university technical college. So our university partner is the University of East London. And our employer partners are Thames Water, Costain, Skanska. And then our final partner is the Church of England. So we've got the Diocese of Chelmsford that support us. Now, alongside of these, we have lots of other companies. And these particular companies help us with the employer-led projects. And these projects are vast. They range from sort of one-day projects right through to whole year projects, through to year-on-year going projects. Now, we've got lots and lots of projects that we could talk about, but I'm going to try and show you two projects now. So we're going to come off of the PowerPoint, and hopefully we're going to be able to show you some technology. So one of the first projects that I'm going to talk about is where three of our students worked with a company, and they were creating a visual aid, which is basically a teaching tool. And so this is, if I show you the project and we can talk. So they've created this sort of this, if you can hold the camera like that. So this box of cards. So this is the elements, okay? And it's kind of out of focus there. The elements. And what we've got here is a situation where we've got a design student, we've got a science student, and then we've got a CAD student. And what they've done is they've created the elements. So we've got these cards that look like this on the table. And on the back, they've got sort of questions about the card. So these are the elements, and basically the elements that are found in the human body. So all sounds quite simple stuff that can be a teaching tool. But where we add the value to this, or sorry, where our students add the value, is that they can open up their phones and they can then use their phone. Okay. Just bear with me. I'm now frozen. So one of the things that they always say is don't work with children, don't work with robots, and don't work with animals, because things can go wrong, don't they? But here we go. We'll try and get this working. So basically what this is these cards become virtual. So if I hold this like this, hopefully you can see that by waving the card over it, the 3D image comes up. So this is zinc, and this is what it looks like as it comes up. We can go to another one, phosphorus, iron, this one, and you can see what the iron is. So what's happened here is that the students have worked with the company. They've created the assets. They've created the intelligent, the quiz on the back, and now this particular one, you can buy it from Amazon. It was the top education app for quite a while, and it's still within the top 100 apps in the world. So that's one little project there. So basically the skills that the students learn, it's this business-led skills, okay? So they're learning to work with companies, respond to companies with their needs, with their project briefs, be able to communicate with them, the language of them. This particular one here, this is an American firm and a London firm, and basically they're not Zooming, Skyping in with New York, working on this project. So this is now, really quite an amazing thing. We'll try and do a few more. This is another one here, and this is where we had some learners that were really interested in gaming. Okay, so this is actually, as you can see, like a gaming steering wheel with the buttons, but this is actually what they've made themselves. So this is 3D printed on our machines. They've added the different components, the flippers to make it work, and these learners, where they were going with this is that they then connected this to a computer, and then you get the experience of using this and actually controlling the game. Now, what's really interesting here is that these three boys were so passionate about this, and that they absolutely, love what they do. We had some visitors come around, and the visitors basically were blown away with them. And they were asking, well, where are you going next? And they described their year 2 project, which is they're making a cradle in engineering, where they can sit in the cradle and they can rock the cradle, so you get the experience of driving in a car, like so. You're doing this, and so they were showing off to some visitors, and it just so happened that the creator of PlayStation, Ian Hetherington, was here with one of his colleagues. And basically what they then said afterwards, they were so amazed with them. They said they'd like to help them out, because obviously to create the cradle and to give the extra bits was a huge amount of money. And literally within a couple of weeks, we were then given this thing here, which is a full-blown game race car, so they can get the actual experience from it. So, basically what happened here, the boys did an incredible job with their networking, and they made it so that they were in awe of what was going on. Okay, so we're going to try and do a tour. We're going to attempt this. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to shut the front down, and we're going to try now and do a quick tour of some of the building. Okay. So we're going to go into different rooms. This particular room that we're in at the moment is our virtual reality room. When we set this up to start with, this was one of the first virtual reality labs in the country for education, and especially at school age. So this is not normal. And what you've got here is dual screens, and on each one you've got these things called Oculus Rift. So every single computer, the learners can put these on their head, they can design something, put them on their head, and they can be in that reality of what's going on. And what's nice about this is that, if you look at our sponsors, Costain and Skanska, it's predominantly civil engineering. And therefore they can do the architecture side, they can look at the infrastructure, they can design it in the CAD using the machines, and then they can actually put the masks on and walk through and see what's going on. We have got rooms upstairs where the walls are digital, and therefore they can then walk inside the room and then be part of it digitally. So this is another way of doing it. Now, the other part that we've got here is that we've got two, these have gone to sleep, I've been speaking too much. So basically, we've got two types of robotics here. We've got experimental robots and we've got industrial robots. So these particular ones here are the experimental ones. They've powered themselves down at the moment, but this is a Pepper and a Neo. And basically, these are completely unreliable, absolute nightmare. But the students absolutely love them because they can program to do different things. So the little ones, we had a young lady here. She was designing the little ones where she did an e-safety class for primary school students. And she took the Neo robot into the primary school, and the Neo robot would then deliver an e-safety lesson. That did her so well that she now works for Sky TV. So she's on there doing that job, which is rather quite nice. So we're now going to go into another room. We're going to try and do this slowly. We're going to try and do it so that we don't lose contact and things, and try and describe what's going on. So one of the things we have to do is we've got young children, okay, that need to go up through the stages. And what we want to do there is make sure that they can understand the basics and go all the way up through, okay? So we start off with Lego. We're one of the only schools, colleges in the world that are sponsored by Lego. So downstairs, we've got this whole Lego Innovation Center. It's crazy. Students come here and they go crazy with this. And what they're learning here is the dexterity, the imagination, but also they're learning about the gears, the pneumatics from a very basic level. And once they've done that, they would then look at going up to the systems and control. So from here, what we've got is a simple circuit of pneumatics, and they can click on here, and basically what's happening is that this one's pushing out, this one's which is controlling the shutter, which then pushes out the bottom one. But we can say, set them a task, and we can then have lots and lots of different components that they can use, okay? And they can then pick the right ones to use, okay? And from there, this is still very manual, even though it's mechatronics, okay, it's still very manual. And what we then need to do is add the element of computer control into this. So we then go on to this style here, which is automation now. And these are our training boards. So what we've got here is a situation where we've got a little disk here, and they've got to program this little disk to go over here, okay? So what we do is we can press the start. It's using pneumatics, and it's moving it across, okay? So what's lovely about this is that the learners have to understand how this works and program it. But then as they get more advanced, they then have to find faults. Sorry, we would put faults in it, and they have to then find the faults to make that work, okay? This is another one here. So we've gone from pneumatics. This one here is using pneumatics, but it's actually mechanical now because it's a mechanical fixing there. So now you can see that it's gone using pneumatics, but mechanical to move it across. And as you can see, we've got lots of different ones of these, and they all make up different components that then, the learners can use. So once they've done that, we can then start putting those parts together. This takes time. We're talking, we've just gone through year 9, year 10, year 11. So this is several years to get to this, and we need them to be fluent as they go through. So what we have to do is now put that together to see how it would work. Okay? So this one here is called an IPC 200. And what we've got here is basically, I mentioned earlier, one of our sponsors was Thames Water. And this is basically Thames Water in a classroom. So when we look at this first one over here, we've got a reservoir, okay? So think about the big reservoirs. This is a metal canister, obviously, but it's a reservoir. And from the reservoir, we can then pump into the canister. So when it's pumped into the canister, we can then control it, we can do what we want with it. So this one here, we can heat it, we can cool it, we can add dye to it, we can purify it, we can filtrate it, we can do all sorts of different things. And then once we've done that to it, we can then put it into the canister again for ready to do what we want to it. So this particular one here, we're going to bottle it. So this is a bottling part. Okay, so we were talking, I don't know how far you got, we were talking about an IPC 200 and we were talking about Thames water, okay? And basically we were going through here to the purification stage, which meant that, we can then take it through here to the bottling. So the machines that you saw earlier, okay, they're basically now all on this one panel, and then they go into the palleting here. And when we're finished with that, we then go into here, which is the HAS, which is a highly automated system, okay? HAS, highly automated system. And the best way to describe this is that it's like Amazon warehouse or a massive manufacturing warehouse in a classroom. And what you've got here is you've got totes, and the totes are the vehicle that carries the products around the conveyor belt. And this particular one here is carrying little tiny balls, and the balls are red, yellow, or blue. And we can then say to the tote, we can say to the machine, we want 15 grams, 30 grams, or whatever we want there. So that's kind of the mechatronics. But with all of this, what we need to make sure is that they have to learn the basics, and they have to learn the basics of the engineering stuff. So we're now going to walk down to the metal work rooms and the workshops to show you those, and from there we can then do the questions. So just as we walk down, we can see, we're preparing to open for tomorrow. Our first sets of students coming back. The COVID situation that we've got is obviously that we have to make sure that we have huge risk assessments to make sure that everybody is safe. So as we walk through, we can see all this barriers and protective things that we put in place. There is a one-way system. Unfortunately, we're going to go down the wrong way. Obviously, tomorrow if I do that, I'm in trouble, which we can't have. So the college itself is made up of lots and lots of workshops. We've got it's predominantly the practical elements that we use here, which is why the employees like it so much. So some of you that may have been here for the International Woodworking Festival that Derek ran, you would recognise some of this building. But we're now going into the metalwork room, and we'll just check again with the sound on here because we know that this might cut out. So if we bring it over here, Josh. You set that where you were. Okay, so hopefully you can still hear me and everything's still live. So in here, this is our metal workshop, okay? And in the metal workshop, we could have gone for several labs of just lathes, okay? And we could have then just become a training center where we're just training the learners up to use the different lathes, okay? Now, this particular one, so what we decided to do is not go down that route. We decided to go for the experience of this. So every learner that comes here gets their time on these machines so that they know how to use them. But what we wanted to do was invest into the future so they can do the hands-on, original, oldie worldy machines, but they can also then go to the advanced machines, which are the CNC, so computer numeric controlled. So that's basically, you're looking at the same thing, but here you've designed it on a computer and you press go, and that's a CNC lathe. And we have the same again when we look at the mills. We can see with the mills, this is, by the way, a company XYZ down in Devon in the UK, really supportive, lots of training, so our staff, really can get used to it. But from the mill, we've got the basic mill, and then again, we've got the CNC mill here. So you can really see that advancement of technology really works. Okay, so we've got the building itself. It's quite interesting. This is not normally here. I can hear some of you thinking, how on earth are you going to be using this? We've had to put the screens up because obviously we've got learners on each side, and the idea here is that this is obviously protection. So we need to have this in place for the COVID. So hopefully COVID will finish soon and we won't have that. Okay, okay, so we've got automatic lights here. They've gone off. We won't turn them on. This is actually our prep room. In here, we've got lots of great machines, which are like the Felder table saws, Felder planer thicknessers, Felder huge, great big band saws. And this is probably the room that most of you will want to see. This is one of our woodwork rooms. So in here, what you can see is an array of benches. Now these are incredible benches, and Derek now can be very proud because basically we can't buy good working benches for schools or colleges. The quality of the benches are too flimsical and just really not good. So we decided to design these ourselves, and then we had them made. And when I say design them ourselves, Derek from Low Fat Robo, who's on here now, obviously he's the one that designed them, and he designed the Nicholson bench. So maybe a few questions in Derek's way in a moment. So the workshop itself, you know, in here we have 2 people per bench. When we do the private education in the evenings or the courses that we do, it's 1 person per bench. And what we've got is a whole array of things. So every bench, you know, has its own set of kit. And we thought that was really important. Being in London, not everybody will want to bring their own tools. So we thought we would kit it out like this. Also, when the students are using this, you know, our learners, they're not used to tools, okay? And what you normally find in a normal school or college is cheap tools that you know, are really not that good. And we didn't want to give our learners that experience. What we wanted to give our learners is the best that we could. So the idea there was that we tried to equip our stuff with the best tools. So we've got, you know, Lee Nelson planes, bad axe saws, Q concepts for the fret saws, Narax, and a whole array of specialist planes from Veritas to Clifton to Luban to all sorts. When we talk about the measuring tools, we're talking about Starrett and Sterling. So some of the courses that we've done, Chris Swartz came over here in November, October last year. This is one of his projects that he did with a group of learners from all over the country. I think some of you may be in this audience at the moment. And then over here, this is a course that, again, Derek runs, which is making a Moxon vise that you can build there. So all in all, you know, you've got that ability. Some of the learners, so our learners, sorry, I've just missed one thing. The learners here, they've got, they all make Japanese toolboxes, and you know, they get the chance of building those little things there. Okay. So I'm hoping now that we can connect back up. I'm hoping that you've heard all of this, and hopefully now we can try and attempt to take your questions. So let me try and get you in the right place and cancel my spotlight video and put you all on gallery view and allow you all to unmute yourselves. So that's LDE UTC. That's something that has really consumed my my life for 7 years now. I'm glad to say that we're hugely oversubscribed. Every year, you know, we're full, which is great, and the employers are really liking what they do. Okay, so I've allowed you all to unmute, and we'll try and do the questions like we used to do. So first one up is Chester.
Isn't that amazing? I got back to the first. Geoffrey, that was very nice. What an impressive school that is. I think it's phenomenal. My questions really have to do with the instructors. You said that you had Chris Schwartz come out and do a project with the students, but for that woodworking class as an example, and the same with the metalworking, how many instructors are there per classroom? And are there specific specialities of those instructors? So if they're teaching the metalworking, are there certain instructors that are fluent in the CNC versus the older lathes, or is there a cross-reference over it?
So I've got to be careful how I say this, because obviously if I have my way, we'd have multi-purpose people that could do it all, but we struggle to find that. So we have our metalwork people, we have our woodwork people that can really do it. So, and when you try and ask them to do another one, they don't want to do that. They need to focus on what they're best at, which is good, but obviously that becomes expensive.
So then if you have one woodworking instructor, or are there multiple?
No. So just to give you an idea, there's 87 staff here. We have multiple instructors on many different levels. So what I've just shown you is mechatronics, systems and control, electronics, computing, digital media, metalwork, woodwork, plastic. We have 3D printing. There's literally lots of areas that we deliver. On top of that, we've got, I said we were civil engineering, so we've got the built environment. And then we go into sort of more traditional school style ones, which are things like product design or maybe art or art and design.
Very nice. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So Jim's up next.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, excellent, because I couldn't get my microphone to work. I'm thinking, this isn't going to work. That's absolutely fantastic. What a fantastic place, and hidden away down by City Airport in, about 20 miles? I'll be on a bus. How long will it take? It's literally up the road from me. Beautiful place. A question I want to ask, and it is pertinent to the current climate, is you mentioned vocational and other courses that are going on, particularly I can see the evening class type concept with, should we call, older workers. And how much of that currently is geared around potential distance learning? Do you have a distance learning facility whereby you can do the academic part of that from home, and thus reducing your COVID footprint? New word I've just created. Yeah. COVID footprint. Quote me on that one.
That's good. I think we need to use that one. So, I mean, basically, we've gone through a massive journey here. Like I said at the start, the rigmarole of trying to get the land, trying to get the building, trying to get the funding has delayed us in several ways. So we ended up in porter cabins to start with. And therefore, we had lovely workshops, but they were not up to this standard. And therefore, we felt at that point it was best to concentrate on the day-to-day business of the college, which was getting the young people ready for work. We've then gone into the new building. We've now been in the new building this will be coming up to our, we moved in January 2018 or 2019, something like that, into the new building where we are at the moment. And we were then looking at setting the courses running. So we started the courses last October and November. We had several courses happening then. And then, of course, we were then ready for the Easter run and the summer run. And, of course, we've now been shut down for COVID. So we've now stopped all that again, because at the moment it's very difficult to even, to get the day-to-day business working with the risk assessments of younger children coming in. What we hope to do is obviously get this working properly and get it safe, and then we can then start bringing in others. I know that Derek and the crew have got lots of different people that they've got coming in to do specialist courses, in the future, but we need to get it safe first.
So you don't anticipate being, I mean, heaven forbid, but we don't know what October, November, and the winter is going to produce. But you're not planning on any distance education with regards to the academic aspect. I know the physical aspect is going to be impossible to do distance learning, which is one of the reasons why a lot of the technical colleges are not able to operate. But is there any? I mean, what percentage do you think of your training could be done that way?
I think until we've got COVID under control, it will be none.
None. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Thanks for your time. And it was, I mean, I know the technical difficulties you must have with broadband and stuff around the actual college, but it was, should we say, an eye opener? Thank you so much.
Did you manage to see it all? Did it cut off several times, did it? Or?
Yeah, you cut out when you started walking into the water, the southwest water area with regards to the hydraulics and stuff, automation. But apart from that, the rest of it was clarity, top clarity here.
Good. Okay, Shrenik up next.
Hi, Geoffrey. Thanks for showing us around your college. You've been talking about it several times over the last, I don't know how many weeks. and I've always been intrigued to know more about it. So it's great that you've been able to tell us more. As you know, I work in construction, and you were talking about being a civil engineering college and the built environment and so on. And I guess it's a two-part question. And the first part is what's the balance between males and females at the college? And then what are you doing to support the drive for women in the built environment, women in engineering?
Yeah, really good question. And one of our targets is to get to 50-50. 50% of each. Okay, that's our target. In some of the year groups, we've got up to 40%. In some of the year groups, we've only got 20%. Overall, the college is at roughly at the moment 34 to 35%. So if we take that as a comparison against industry, at the moment industry is between 7 and 9%. So it's a little bit better than industry, but it's not where we want to be. We want to get better. So the second part of your question is, how are we doing that? Well, obviously, again, before COVID, we were doing women in engineering. We were doing women's societies. We've got guest speakers that are coming in, enticing and sort of encouraging people to take part. When we were recruiting for this, we were doing activities that were predominantly what we thought were predominantly focused on trying to get more females in to the college. So it could have been different ways of doing that, and one of the things that we found with that is actually that didn't work, it didn't work because they couldn't just look at the difference between the two, and what we found now is the best way to do this is just do more and more engagement with the community to make that work. One of the things I have done though is I've been quite bold. I've changed the admissions policy because we're oversubscribed. We now have waiting lists, and what I did, I set it to a boys and a girls policy. So therefore, it's 50-50. So therefore, every girl that applies has a good chance of getting in, and hence why we'll increase, because it was unfair for girls because they were being unfairly disproportionate. So I'll give you an example. We were hundreds over the allocation, and therefore you ended up with a higher percentage of boys because it's random allocation. We can't just pick people to come in because it's government funded. So by doing the 50-50 means that the girls get their place. Otherwise, they had a 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 or some year groups 1 in 7 chance of getting in, and now they've got a good chance of getting in.
Okay, and to support your female students that are already at the college, are you aware that several construction companies in London hold women in construction events? And there's also women in engineering events across London?
Absolutely. So we've got a great careers department here. They're absolutely wonderful. And we also host our own apprenticeship events here. And our learners get to go out and go and see that.
That's good to
hear. Yeah. Matthias.
Thank you.
I need to unmute first. I am now unmuted. Thank you very much, Geoffrey. It was a very nice talk. It was also very nice for me to, as it were, virtually revisit the place, because as you will remember, I spent 5 days last year in that metal workshop under Mark Harrell's tutelage, learning how to sharpen my saws.
Oh, I forgot about Mark's course. Yeah, of course. We had Mark here, didn't we, doing the course? Yeah.
While Chris was teaching another group doing the Welsh stick chairs in the room you're in now. But anyway, there are two things I wanted to ask you. And one is, given the bandwidth of the type of education you provide, how do you organize your classes? So that, as it were, it makes sense, or is it just you're in a class, but you go to whatever courses you're interested in or you're signed up for? And the second question was, how wide do you cast your net of recruitment? So are you primarily recruiting from a reasonably local geographical area, or do you get people applying from all over?
Yeah, good questions. So I'll go to the second question first. The area that we recruit from, we're at the London Design and Engineering, so we recruit from London, okay? And if we take the extremes, so for instance, last year, our 2 students that were furthest away from each other was 146 miles.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's massive. When we look at, you know, the same with our staff, the 2 furthest away are actually Derek and myself, and we're 168, something like that, 168, I think, miles away from each other. So the area is vast. Now, I believe that this may change now because of COVID, because of the use of public transport. It's going to be very interesting over the next couple of weeks. You know, like I said, our learners start back tomorrow, but the new learners, you know, are they going to travel across London in this time? So, you know, we need to see what happens there. The first question, just remind me again.
Given the variety of education,
oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
How do you organize classes and groups and?
Yeah, with great difficulty. So basically we have the classes set, and basically we then populate the classes with the learners that want to go into it. So they have to get the right entry grades to get into those courses. And once they've got the right entry grades, we then have to support them to make the right decisions. So some people may think that you know, they want to do a particular subject, but they actually realize it's not the subject that they wanted. So what we tend to do is a bit of a carousel. We give them sort of, you know, lots of literature and lots of taste sessions so that they get the chance to really ensure that they're on the right course. Class sizes, we try and cap them. We try to get 20 in a class, but the problem now is that they're very popular, and some of the classes are going up to 24. And then when we go to the more academic classes, some of them are going up to 28, which is not what we set out. But it's you know, these learners want to be here and want to do it. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so next one, Chester said he can go on to the next one. So Bruce.
Hi, 2 questions. First, do you have a scholarship program for 59-year-old Americans? And 2, when you're teaching hand tools versus computer operated machinery, do you get pushback from students who think, well, you know, geez, I can program a computer to do this. Why are you making me learn this with hand tools?
Personally, I've not seen that from learners.
Okay, good.
But maybe Derek would. I mean, Derek actually teaches here, and I don't know, Derek, if you want to mute yourself and join into some of these answers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Well, I don't teach anything on the CNC or the lathes. Anything automated, I leave to my colleagues who are far more experienced to do that. My core background or my interest and my input at the college is hand tools. And what I say to the students is that invariably, if it's only one component you're making, it's often quicker to learn the skills and to be able to do it with hand tools. And the other reason I suggest that starting with hand tools is the best way to go, because it puts you physically in touch, from up close and personal with the material you're working. So you then get to feel what that material, how it responds and how it feels when it's being hammered, it's being planed, it's being cut, sawn, files. All these kind of things will sink in. So you get a really good feeling for how materials behave when you work them. Now, that information and that sort of built-in data feeling you can then take onto a machine. So you kind of get a feel for what the machine and the cutting tools are going through. You've got a really good understanding of what the tolerance is and what machines are going through to do exactly the same things with hand tools. And again, it teaches students the fact that you can be very, very precise with hand tools. It takes a little bit of practice. You need good hand tools. And that's one of the things that Geoffrey touched on earlier on, that when we made it was very important to have really good hand tools. So perhaps with some of our students, the first time they pick up a saw, I'll sort of show them a line, show them how to hold the saw, how to stand in front of the bench and cut a line. And if the saw is sharp and it's tuned to cut a straight line, we all know that all it wants to do is cut a straight line. And the best quality tools just deliver that expectation, so our students don't get disheartened. There's nothing worse than handing somebody, perhaps a young female student who's got small hands, you hand them a great big saw with a big blue plastic handle that's built for builders, and they can't cut a straight line. I can't cut a straight line with some of those plastic handle saws, so they haven't got a hope in hell. So if you give them a saw that is ergonomically designed so they can cut a straight line, it just builds their confidence, and they think, yeah, hey, do you know what, hand tools, I can cut a straight line with a saw, no problem. And if you don't tell them just how clever they've been, then they just take it for read that in actual fact, if they want to cut a straight line, they just take a saw off the rack and it will be tuned and away they go. So that's the importance, and that's how I sell them hand tools. But without it, you can't possibly understand how to program and work a machine without knowing how the material is going to respond.
Good. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
So, Bruce, the answer to the other question is no, sorry. But what I would say is that you know, we will do the London Design and Engineering you know, Festival of Woodworking again. It was billed to be a yearly thing, and what we do is all the wraparound courses there. So it becomes like a mini festival, all about woodworking. We will have that again, and maybe you'd like to you know, make it one of your holidays in the future to come and do it and enjoy some of the you know, well-known people. You know, Matthias reminded me that you know, it was Mark Harrell that came over and did the saw sharpening. We've had David Barron do like a gentleman's box. You know, we've so we lined up Phil from Philly Plains to do one as well. So lots of great courses. And on the show itself, we basically got lots of guest speakers that came in and did seminars. So we had Yannick doing you know, French polishing. Derek helped me out with a few of the others.
Yannick, we had Yannick was doing, I think he did marquetry, French marquetry. Phil Edwards, who did a Bench Talk 101 for us here, he did planes. We had the guys from Lee Nielsen, we do some sharpening, I think. We had a couple of guys from Spain came over and did some inlay and some hand tools.
Richard Arnold did the 18th century planes.
Yeah.
So all good stuff. Okay, so quick questions. I mean, we're back to Chester wants to ask another question. Chester.
Yeah, and it relates to the prior question. Basically, since you noted that your metalworking classes were geared for the older equipment and the new modern equipment, which they'll find more in factories that have manufacturing. I live in North Carolina, and we're pretty much the still, but barely, the home base of furniture manufacturing in the United States. What's left of it, it's been decimated. But some of the equipment that they use and some of the things that they use in the larger factories is resorts to steam bending, veneering, inlay, copy lathes, using vacuum presses for veneering, that sort of thing. So my question is, are all of the classes rudimentary or elementary? Do you have any advanced in the woodworking specifically? And I noticed you said that you had table saws in that little counter room that you went through, but it's appearing to me to be in the classroom that you're in seems to be primarily the hand tools. And I agree with Derek that without that basic information, it's very difficult for people to understand the materials and what you can do with the newer equipment. But have you considered what the students will wind up using in factories to produce mass production of furniture?
Yeah, good. I mean, I think what we have to remember here is the age range of our learners. So they're 13 years up to 18 years. And the level of in-depth that you then refer to is kind of after us, okay? So what we're trying to do at the moment is give everybody that snippet of like experience of different things. So, you know, when you talk about veneer press, we've got bag presses, you know, things like that. So, you know, they have the chance of doing these things. The learners by law are not allowed to use the circular saws in that prep room, because of their age and insurance and things. So, there's a bit of a gap. What we're trying to do is give them that experience to go forward. I'll give you an example. We had one young chap called Abdul, absolutely an amazing guy. Probably when you first met him, he was annoying because he was by your side the whole time, and you couldn't get away from him. But actually, he was so keen and he was so interested, and all he wanted to do was to get on that big mill and start using it. And as soon as he had that input, he was then using it himself. So every single lunchtime he was in there, he was making products. When I was bringing visitors around, he was the one showing them what to do and how to do it and what was going on. It was passion like you've never seen. And he was kind of like an unassuming young, man that the other learners, maybe didn't really realize what was going on. And I always remember, because he was one of our first cohorts, and what I remember the most is that he came to me and said, look, I've applied for Rolls-Royce. And, this is something where lots of people try it. And he came to me, I've applied for Rolls-Royce, okay? And I've got like a round of interviews, okay? And he came back from that, and he was one of 50,000 applicants, okay? And he then went through the first round, went through the second round. And at this point, I thought, well, hang on, this is really good. And we do a celebration assembly. So I told all the other students in this assembly, I said, that Abdul is going for an interview at Rolls-Royce. And then the week after, he came out, he got it. And he was one of 12 places from 50,000 students. But what happened there was the fact that he could talk with experience about using those tools and making it work. And that's just one case. We've got two boys. There's a massive jet aeroplane behind me here. Maybe if you've got time later, I'll show you. It's a model of an aeroplane. They've made it themselves with jet engines, okay? Basically, they were interested in aviation. And they went on, they've now got apprenticeships with British Airways. We've got people going all over the place. Jaguar, the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force. These students can talk a good game because they've had the experience to go forward. So kind of, we're not at the level where we're specializing like you've mentioned there, Chester.
And I don't mean in any way to degrade what you're doing there, because I think it's fantastic. And I think that that rudimentary spark that you're giving them will turn and blossom into phenomenons that we probably can't even comprehend. And so in no way do I diminish your work by that. I think it's fantastic, and my compliments and appreciations.
Well, I mean, we have a wonderful staff team here that are so committed. They really support the learners so well. They're amazing staff, and the learners, absorb it. Not every learner does. We have every character here. We're in East London, so predominantly our learners are completely multicultural, and we have all sorts of learners that join us. Okay, Martin, question from Martin. Maybe not. Is Martin still here, or? Okay, moving on. Shrenik then. Shrenik wants a second question.
It's muted, Geoffrey.
I think Martin's here.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Oh, fire away, Martin.
Sorry, Geoffrey. Yeah, thanks for the tour. I did actually come to the show last year. It was great. It really was good. Such a wonderful building and setting. Absolutely stunning. I was taking pictures of the steelwork and various things because it's the business I'm in. But you said that, if I heard you right, your learners are from 13 to 18.
That's right. Yeah.
So do you cover their whole education needs, or do they come to see you kind of like on a daily basis, or from school, or?
No, so we cover the whole education basis. So we do all
Oh,
the
right,
GCSEs.
okay.
So we do that. We do the English, we do the maths, we do the science. I mean, you know, they're choosing to come here, so they're choosing to come to a technical college. So we don't offer drama. We don't offer music. However, we've got a digital music studio that they could go into for their sort of extracurricular. You know, they set up clubs, they make videos, they make all sorts. So you know, we don't do everything here. We do languages. You know, we've Chinese. We've done in the past. It's basically on what the learners want. So we do Spanish and French.
So it's no different to, you know, the kids selecting a school when they, you know, when they move up from your primary to big school in a way, is it?
Absolutely, but it's at a different age group. So you know,
all right.
You know, they move up from year 7, but here they move up at year 9. So.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, thanks, Geoffrey.
That's all right. Thank you for the compliments. I'm glad that you came in November. Thank you. Sorry, Shrenik wanted to ask something again.
So you spoke about quite early on, and I think Chester also spoke about it or briefly mentioned it. The tools that you use, they are always good tools, and that's a great thing to give students access to good quality tools that they can use without any faff, and they just work as they should. But when you've got a 13-year-old student starting out, they're not going to understand how to respect the tool. They may be clumsy, they may drop the tools. Surely that's going to be quite expensive. And that's, I assume, one of the reasons why a lot of colleges won't keep or use those tools. How do you, I guess, overcome that?
I think that's a double thing. I mean, a lot of colleges maybe can't afford those tools in the first place. But if you introduce respect, you'll get respect back.
Yeah, Geoffrey, I would say I've never had that problem. I say never, should never say never. Once or twice perhaps, but when I explain to people that the quality of the tools and what they can get out of them, you'd be very surprised at how their attitudes to working with really good quality tools just changes when they know that these are serious tools. When you can explain to them that you've invested heavily for their benefit, and a majority of times they respect that and go, wow, I'm really lucky to have these tools. Isn't this wonderful? And it only takes sort of one of them to misbehave with the tool, saying, no, don't do that, please put that down carefully, put it down like this, not like that, handle it this way, and it just becomes natural after a while.
I think one of the other things, I mean, if I move this camera, hopefully I can move it and just show you span out. Look, these workbenches now, we're going into our 5th year, okay? That's the quality of our workbenches. You know, in some schools, you would have, you see graffiti and you see chewing gum, but you don't, like if you.
Or you see
tell them, give them the right standard at the start, and you'll keep that standard.
Yep. Or you see a new sheet of MDF over the top every
no,
year.
No, we do use MDF over the top, because sometimes they're doing stuff in here like gluing, and literally, you've got to prepare. So the MDF is there; they can put it on, they can take it off, they can use what they want to make it work. And therefore that's a learning curve as well. How do you protect your things? They can see what's going on there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, that's the Shrenik. I always explain to the kids about the benches, that the benches are a flat surface, and that's a datum. So we talk about datums a lot in all the courses that I teach. So we talk about datums when we're talking about CAD, talk about datums in the metalworking shop, and the woodworking shop's no different. Your flat bench is your datum. If you want to make something that's flat, if you want to make a chair that doesn't rock, you need a reliable flat surface. The bench is your reliable flat surface. Look after it, because it will look after you.
Thank you. And I should have asked this question earlier, Geoffrey, when I asked you the question about females in your college. But I also know that there's an issue with an imbalance in ethnic minorities in both engineering and construction. Yeah. Are you doing anything to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the key things about our sponsor, I've moved the camera. I'm in the wrong place now, aren't I? So one of the key things was that we're trying to encourage women into engineering. We're also trying to encourage what we used to call BAME, and obviously we're going to come up with a different name for that now, but ethnic minorities into the engineering. So like I said, some year groups we had 46% females in them. Some of them we've only got 20% on. Overall, we're in the 30%, okay? But if we take our ethnic minorities, we're 92% ethnic minorities.
Wow. That's incredible.
So we are the minority.
Yeah, that's definitely very unusual from what I've seen. So that's impressive.
I mean, because of government COVID and stuff, this goes out to all of you. Because of government COVID, we can't invite you now. But as soon as that's lifted, we've been told we can't have visitors until Christmas at the moment. But after Christmas, you know, all of you, if you're passing, please come and see us. Come and say hello. Come and have a look around, and do it when we're open. Do it when the learners are here, because you can get the vibe, you can feel what's going on, and you can get the excitement. You know, we call it opportunities, and so on. I'll just move this camera back where it should be. So there we go. So normally at this point, I say I'm going to bully somebody, and of course I don't need to bully somebody this time, because that's somebody we bullied last week, and he's doing it next week. So Rick couldn't be here today because he's working, but Rick will be here next week to give that bench talk. So we're talking about unturned pencils next week. So that'll be a great one to see. And at this point, I normally say toast to the speaker, so I won't do that, but toast to the bench. So here I am drinking water because I've got a 2-hour drive home in a minute, but toast to the bench.
Toast to Geoffrey as well.
Yeah, cheers, Geoffrey. Well done.
Well done.
Well done. Thank you.
Okay.
It's a high-tech conversation.
And a low-tech topic.
Live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.